Namaste, this is JVN Dr. Vishal Saxena, Associate Professor in Mathematics and Statistics in Jayoti Vidyapeeth Women's University, Jaipur. Today I am going to discuss on the module birth rates and we are going to take this in this part birth rates today, the CBR and GFR, which are known as crude birth rate. CBR means the crude birth rate and GFR, that is the general fertility rate. This session is a part of the course biostatistics and under the program of it is BSc FND third semester and integrated BTech MTech FBT third semester of the university, and this course is important, and that's why it is also a part of the various other courses, various other programs of the university. In the today's session we are going to discuss on the part of the crude birth rate and the general fertility rate. As all we know that the crude birth rate and the general fertility rate are just the parts of the vital statistics, and these are very important part of vital statistics because vital statistics is just the study of the collection of data related to births, deaths, and their divorces, marriages. So in the vital statistics we have to find about we have to just get the knowledge about these births, deaths, and about the mortality rates and marriages and different kind of such issues for the country, and that's why this topic is important for the growth of the country and for the various other objectives. The topic of the birth rates is very important, and the fertility rate is as well, and just in the today's session we are describing about the crude birth rate. The crude birth rate is a general human measure. It is a general human measure of fertility, or we can say it is a common measure of the fertility, common human measure of the fertility, and this crude birth rate but the crude birth rate is not giving the exact knowledge about the birth rates and just giving the rough estimate of the this fertility rate or the rough sketch of the fertility rate. Now this CBR crude birth rate and this GFR general fertility rate are very important, and just we will describe with mathematical concepts and mathematical formulas with examples, and how can we calculate them. So we are going to describe with some examples and some slides today. So we take some slides for this. Initially the crude birth rate is defined here. The crude birth rate is a common measure of the human fertility. It is a common measure of the human fertility, and it is obtained by dividing the number of births recorded in a population during a specified year by the total number. So it can be just obtained by the dividing the number of births or the number of live births recorded in a population, and during a specified means a particular year by its total number. The rate is called crude because the differences in the composition such as age and sex are ignored in calculating it, because we will not just take like the components of age and the gender for the calculation of such birth rates. That's why it is called the crude birth rate. And the crude birth rate which is written by CBR can be defined by a formula, and this formula is given by the total number of children born in a year, the total number of children born in a year divided by mid-year population into 1000. So that is the formula for this, and it can be just defined as the number of births in a year, the number of births in a year per thousand of the mid-year population. So this represents the number of births in a year per thousand of the mid-year population, and just it will give a rough estimate of the fertility, and it does not specify why birth rates are different for the different populations and different years at the same time. So it is a drawback that it is not able to explain that what about why the birth rates are different in the different years and in the and between different populations at the same time. Next, the general fertility rate. The general fertility rate is a very important component of the birth rates or the topic of the vital statistics. And general fertility rate can be defined as the number of births per thousand women of the reproductive ages. So it means the general fertility rate will be the number of births per thousand women of the reproductive ages. Here the word reproductive ages is taken, and the reproductive ages means the ages of the woman and in which they can bear the child. And in general the reproductive ages for the women are taken as from 15 years to 49 years. So the number of women of the childbearing age is taken as a base for calculating the birth rate instead of the total population. So that is important. Here the base can be taken as the number of women childbearing age is taken as a base for the calculating the birth rate, not the total population is considered here. And the crude birth rate is a common measure of the human fertility. And we have described already that the childbearing ages for the women are generally taken as 15 to 49 years, 15 to 49 years, and according to Bogue 1969, he has defined the general fertility rate as the number of births in a year per thousand women if childbearing age, while the Berkeley states that the general fertility rate means the GFR is the ratio of the total yearly registered births to the population of women of childbearing age. So these are the different definitions given by the different mathematicians and statisticians, but the concept, the meaning of their definitions are the same for the general fertility rate, and just it is the general fertility rate can be defined as the number of births per thousand women of the reproductive ages. So here just we have to consider about the number of births per thousand women of the reproductive ages, means the ages of women in which they can bear the child. So it can be defined by a formula, and the formula for the GFR is given by total number of live births in a year divided by mid-year population of women in reproductive age group. So it can be defined as the total number of live births in a year and divided by mid-year population of women in the reproductive age group. Now we take example to clear this. If the population of any area is suppose 50,000 and the number of child born are 700, then what is CBR? The CBR means the crude birth rate is given by 700 upon 50,000 into 1000 according to formula, and this will come as 14. It shows that the crude birth rate per 1000 population is 14. So that is the term, means here the CBR is here 14. That means the crude birth rate per 1000 population is 14. And the crude or the natural birth rates are different in any country at different times. So these are not same for the different times, and because crude birth rate is calculated after a particular month of the year, and the reason of that that it is calculated just after a particular month of the year, and the data for the live births is based on the registered births, but all births are not registered generally, and therefore the coming CBR, the crude birth rate, is just giving a rough sketch, not giving the complete picture of the correct data. So if one more example we are going to take for the GFR, means the general fertility rate, and according to this question, if the number of females of age group 15 to 49 years in an area is 5,000. So the number of females for this childbearing age is given that 5,000, and the total of the live births is 200 in a year. Then what is GFR? Then GFR is given by 200 upon 5,000 into 1000, and that is equal to 40. So which indicates that there are 40 births per 1000 women in the childbearing age group. So that is the result, that is the answer for this question. That means 40 is the birth, the 40 is the GFR, and for the per 1000 women in the childbearing age group. So these are the topics, these are the examples of the GFR and the CBR. So these are the examples just we have taken to understand the concept of the GFR and CBR. CBR means the crude birth rate, and GFR just shows the GFR just shows the general fertility rate, and they are important for the calculation of the birth rates and the fertility rates, and will give just CBR will give a rough estimate or the rough picture of the birth rates about in a year for a particular country, and it is important as well. So these are the basic components, basic parts of the fertility rate and the birth rates, and students are advised to prepare objective questions as well as the subjective questions of such topics, of these topics for the competitive examinations also, and they must take students are advised to take some numericals also with the different varieties, because the different questions will give the different just concept of the topic, so should take some different questions and solve them, and just see and prepare the application part of these topics of birth rates and the fertility rate, the crude birth rate and the general fertility rate, and with this I conclude my today's session. Thank you.